What is going on, Sports Wars? We're here. We're live for another Monday evening quarterback. And this is a pretty special show because not only are we an hour away from the kickoff for the national championship game, Alabama versus Georgia, but also, Jeremy, we just got done with one of the most insane regular season finales that we've ever seen, especially what it all came down to in that final game Sunday, which we watched together. For Raiders versus Chargers.
It was, man. That was a wild, wild Sunday. So many different things happened between, obviously you had the whole Patriots and the Bills situation. You had the Bucks, wanting to get the second seed. Then you had the Rams game and the 49ers, which was crazy. A bunch of other scenarios that we just weren't sure how it was going to play out, but all capped off by that game late last night on Sunday Night Football, which looked like it might end up in a tie, which it was crazy, man. I mean, the whole thing was wild as hell. So it was good. It was good to see all of that. And we got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, we absolutely do. I still can't get over everything that happened yesterday. But the big thing, we might as well start with how it ended, which was Chargers versus Raiders. Now, all along, once the Colts lost, which we're going to talk about a little bit, that opened the door for Pittsburgh to be able to get in. And Pittsburgh won in overtime. A great game in overtime. Pittsburgh beat the Ravens. And, Ben Roethlisberger, that could very easily have been his last game ever. But even after they won, they're still in playoff position, except for one extremely strange thing. If the game last night would have tied, Steelers would have been out. But both the Chargers and the Raiders would have been in the game. So in the lead up to this game, everybody knows this. Everybody understands this. So people are talking on social media like, what if they just decide to kneel the entire game? What if they just agreed to tie, basically? Well, that's not what they did. They went out there. The Raiders jumped out to a lead. The Chargers had to fight back. And they needed a last-second touchdown to Mike Williams to tie the game, to force overtime. Then in overtime, we see the Raiders go down, kick a field goal. We see the Chargers drive down the field, damn near score, but then get forced to kick a field goal. And all of it gets set up where they're sitting on the 40-yard line with around 45 seconds to go, and the game is tied. Legitimately, they could have just finished it out and played it out. And the Chargers called a timeout. Now, it looked to everybody like the Raiders were just ready to let it go. But the Chargers called a timeout. Their head coach has said that he wanted to get his best package on the field because he knew they were going to run. The Raiders said, yeah, we kind of just thought about running it out, I mean, no reason not to. Everybody wins kind of thing. But no, Chargers called a timeout. The Raiders set up a good run. Instead of from the shotgun, they set up from under center. Josh Jacobs goes for 11 yards. They kick a game-winning field goal. Chargers season is fucking over.
Big Ben continues. His career, it's bigger than just the obvious massive implications to the playoff picture. And Pittsburgh is saying that's Big Ben, an all-time great quarterback. His career could have ended on that tie, potentially. His career could have ended on that tie, but instead he goes on, the victim of circumstances, absolutely insane. It's crazy. And I don't know if there was enough attention kind of placed upon how crazy that all was leading into it. I mean, I know people was but I don't think people really thought it was even possible that it would tie. Of course it's not going to tie. And then you start thinking about it, this thing could actually end up in a tie. And the implications with that, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. And, you got Pittsburgh live tweeting during the game. We love game-winning field goals, or we're just rooting for a win, guys, stuff like that. So the Steelers social media account was on it. I felt like the entire sports world, at least the NFL world, was obviously very directly, their eyes were on this game. So many people were talking about it on social media. Yep. And I can't for the life of me remember another time where we've had it like this. Now, we've definitely seen games where playoff spots are on the line because the NFL does this. The NFL wants to generate this, and they strategically place these games and flex them in the last game of the season to make sure that happens. Don't recall whether this was a flex game or whether it was the original plan for them to play Sunday night, but the way everything else played out, it was just perfect. And the end of the day, the Raiders have overcome a lot this year, between John Gruden being canceled and fired, between Henry Ruggs III literally killing someone, which I totally forgot about until last night. And somehow, some way, the Raiders make the playoffs, and the Chargers, who looked very good for a lot of the year, are somehow sitting on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I can't imagine the emotions that were, going on with all of these players. You know what I mean? And football players are inherently they have they're driven. They want to handle their business, and of course, because they didn't handle their business throughout the season, they were kind of set there and just having to let the circumstances determine what all. Oh, it's crazy, man. So I look. Shout out to the NFL for adding an extra game. It was clearly a good decision. It's not like we haven't never seen a lot of these games play out before or come to the final game of the season. But this whole thing intertwined together with so many games that had so many implications. But I'm happy that places like First Take and Undisputed started out with who's better, LeBron or Jordan, and spent their first 45 minutes on that.
What?
I think not that.
Okay.
They did start out with like, who's the MVP, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady? That was like the first topic, I think. And just like, what are you talking about? Like, really? That's your topic? That's why the mainstream is so irrelevant. Like, sports fans saw a great NFL Sunday. And that is a valid question about the MVP, but it's definitely not the most important thing that came from yesterday. Not even close. You know what I mean? So, yeah, unbelievable. No, they didn't do Jordan versus LeBron. That would have been fun.
I was going to say, what the fuck? Mike Hill, he is a channel member, says, my Pittsburgh Steelers made the playoffs. They did indeed. And that was a huge part of this, and why it was so important when it came down to it was if they tied. The odds are you see a tie about once every couple years in the NFL. We already had one this year, and we came as close as you possibly could to having one last night. But we've never seen a circumstance where teams could tie and they could both get a playoff bid. So there were so many positive things that could come from them just deciding to take the knee and guarantee a playoff spot. Like, even if you have say a 95% chance with Daniel Carlson, a 50+ yard field goal, great leg. Even if you have a 95 chance of him making a kick like that, do you risk it? Do you risk kicking when a kneel down guarantees you a playoff spot?
I know.
Like,
crazy.
That's, in the land of analytics, in the world that we live in, that's a legitimate thing to ask. And, yeah, would you be looked at like a little bit of a bitch? You definitely would be. You'd be criticized. We'd probably be criticizing that decision. But if you're a coach and your future, like that could be your future. That could be that one decision could cost you your job, even though chances are it'd probably be fine. You took a 95% chance of winning rather than a 100% chance of a guaranteed playoff spot.
Look at what happened to Alabama years ago with the kick six. You know what I mean? And that was just, Saban basically was like, all right, we got a shot to win the game, but there was this 1% chance that something could go wrong, and it would, and it did. It went completely wrong, and this is still the most painful memory ever for us me as a sports fan. But that's the thing.
But even that one, Jeremy, there's more positive, like the outcome of not winning that game actually has an impact, right? Like if they don't win that game, it's a big deal. Whereas this one, you don't need to. Like, literally, like if that'd be like if Nick Saban, all they had to do was kneel down and nothing bad would happen.
Right.
It's
crazy.
It's crazy.
It is. But that's what we watch sports for, is these crazy scenarios right there. And I can only hear the people if that game would have ended in tie. The crowd, like, NFL's rigged, look at this. They would have been jumping all over that one. So
yeah. That was nuts. But we do have a couple super chats. Dom H for $20. You guys see the play where the Giants quarterback snuck on 3rd and 9. Joe Judge should be fired too. Yes, the Giants GM stepped down, retired. I think we all know probably what that means. I wish they could get Jim Harbaugh, but one positive, at least they have an extra top 10 pick courtesy of your Bears, Ryan. They do. So real quick, let's talk about that. This was Black Monday for the NFL, which is where all the coaches get fired. We saw Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. Fuck them. I'm glad they're gone. That was predicted. Mike Zimmer and the GM with the Vikings are also gone. Not really unexpected either. He's been there a while, and they've had disappointing seasons for sure. and obviously Vic Fangio did get fired on Saturday, but the one that everyone is talking about is Brian Flores of the Miami Dolphins.
Didn't see that one coming at all. Like, I did not see that one coming at all.
No. And, you know, with the success he's had, there hasn't made playoffs, but, you know, they have had, you know, 2 winning seasons there. And I think that for Miami, I think that Miami's a mess. I've thought that they were a mess all season, then somehow they just kept winning like 7 straight. But when you look at everything that happened in the offseason with Deshaun Watson, basically telling your quarterback Tua that you don't believe in him, trying to get Deshaun Watson. When you look at what happened the year before with Brian Flores making the decision to bench Tua Tagovailoa and bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick when it really mattered.
Yeah.
You know, go ahead.
I saw some questionable things, you know, a lot of questionable decisions with him, with how he's handled Tua. Now, I get it. Tua is an injury-prone guy. I don't know how healthy he's been in those situations per se. You know what I mean? There might be internal stuff that we're not aware of, but for me, it's like the confidence that he has not given his quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of situations that he affected the confidence. I don't know if that had anything to do with this or not, but it's still surprising to me that he was fired. Like, it's very surprising. I don't know if those decisions about how he's handled the quarterback position played into it, but if those played into it, I guess I can understand it a little more.
Yeah, I think that it seems like there's a disconnect. According to all the reports, there was a disconnect between the GM and the head coach. Brian Flores ends up getting let go. Some people didn't maybe like his very intense personality, but either way, he's gone. Now, you know the way. I've already seen a couple media sites trying to do it. This is why it's so difficult for black head coaches in the league.
Oh, you know,
you know this is going to happen. We'll probably see who makes a reaction. We'll do a video on it tomorrow. But and another person, the Bill Belichick tree that goes out and, you know, it doesn't, you know, not a successful tenure as a first-time head coach for.
I think Miami is a really, like, they have a lot of good pieces. Now, the thing you have to consider with Miami is, yes, you have good pieces. I think Tua has, I mean, again, I've never doubted Tua's talent. I doubt his durability, and I will continue to doubt his durability. It hasn't changed. He's still, you're going to hold your breath every time he gets tackled, Miami fans. I promise you that, because I did it as an Alabama fan. But I've never questioned his talent. I question the durability. With that said, I think that you have some nice pieces in Miami. You almost made the playoffs. The problem is you got 2 teams in that division that are going to be highly competitive for the next several years. You've got Buffalo and you've got New England. That's going to be tough for a coach to look at that situation and go, I've got a quarterback that's really talented, but he's literally like, you breathed on him too hard and he may be out. You know what I mean? So I don't know if they can bring a top-tier coach in that situation or not, but they need a culture change in Miami. That's what they need. They need a culture change.
Right.
And I'm not sure they're going to get that.
Yeah, and I don't know what you can do if you have a guy, so you have an owner and a GM that seem to be on the same page, and a coach that maybe was trying to do something that didn't align with what they wanted to do, so they get rid of him. Like, who are you going to replace Brian Flores with that could do better than what he's done the past 2 seasons? You know what I mean? They have already come out and said, because one of the immediate speculations was, well, why do you get rid of someone like Brian Flores, who seems to have had the team going the right way? Is it for Harbaugh? Their owner's a big Michigan guy. He came out and gave a statement and said, I'm not going to be the one to take Jim Harbaugh away from Michigan. So I do think that's a pretty straightforward answer from someone that they're not interested in Jim Harbaugh. They're looking elsewhere. But where do you go from there? I don't know.
Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's free.
Oh, man.
Bring Urban Meyer in.
Yeah, don't kick Tua, though. Don't kick Tua. He'll literally break Urban. That's not a good idea. But Harbaugh, obviously a lot of the Chicago sports guys are thinking Harbaugh to the Bears. You know, I actually think that makes a lot of sense.
That's a good fit.
I think it is too, but I don't. You know, it's a good fit for the 4 or 5 years that it would work with Harbaugh until he needs to start over. But I do think that would be good for that team. And he was a Bear. He's a Midwest guy. That's just who fucking Jim Harbaugh is. So we'll see what happens.
I think that would be a good fit.
But or maybe he just wants to stay at Michigan and continue winning 10 games a year and never win a national championship and be fine with that. He might be completely at that point in his career.
Yeah, it's weird, man, because I feel like that's where he wants to be, but I also feel like he knows that he has underperformed. You know what I mean? Like he's not lived up to the expectations that were placed upon him. He's not lived up to the expectations he has on himself. And I think this year, I don't know, man. I don't know if him being in this championship game tonight would have, changed that direction, but it'll be interesting to see what decision he makes.
Yeah. So Root of House right here for 10. I can't believe everything broke the Steelers' way to make the playoffs. My team, the Ravens, would have missed out on making the playoffs anyway, even if they had beat the Steelers. Yeah, the tiebreakers and everything are always so crazy. And it just worked out perfectly for the Steelers, beating the Ravens at the end of the year. And they needed a big 4th down conversion. They needed a big touchdown. Well, I guess they didn't get a touchdown at the end. It was a field goal that ended it. But the 4th down after 2 dropped passes is just everything aligned perfectly for Big Ben. And I don't know what they're going to do. They've got about a 14-point spread against the Chiefs right now. But I'll be rooting for Big Ben, that's for sure.
I don't like Big Ben.
I'll root for him to end this career. I don't mind Big Ben. I was not a big fan until I found out how he treated women. Then I was a really big fan of Big Ben.
I don't like Big Ben. Not a fan.
Recife the Cripple for 5. Still geeked up, but my Raiders pulling it out. Ryan, what do you think is a better shot at Harbaugh, your Bears, or my Raiders or Michigan? Miami GM already said he's out on Harbaugh. Yeah, so we talked about that. Do I think he could go to the Raiders? I don't think that's a bad fit. Raiders need a head coach as well. I'm sure he'd love to go there with Derek Carr. I think the idea of going there with Derek Carr is probably a better situation than having to develop Justin Fields. Derek Carr's ready now. So maybe. We'll see.
What is this? I say this comment. I'm checking to see. Mahomes, is there something going on with Mahomes?
Mahomes. Oh, this one?
I'm looking to see if that's legit or not. So
let's look at Adam Schefter.
I'm sure I would have gotten a notification on my phone if that was the case.
Let's see. Statement from Matt Nagy. I don't see anything from.
Nope. It might be wishful thinking. Who's the Chiefs playing?
Steelers.
Playing the Steelers, yeah. So that's what it is. That's wishful thinking on a Steelers fan right there.
Maybe. We'll see. Pee Wee Pierre for 5. It's weird. I hate Bama
he said
football.
Just kidding. He said just kidding.
You son of a bitch, David. You got us. Pee Wee Pierre for 5. Is it weird? I hate Bama football, but Root, not a fan of Bama basketball. Maybe it's past success. I like seeing new teams win championships.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean,
I don't think that's too weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Alabama's never had a really relevant college basketball team.
They've had a couple good seasons in the past decade.
Good seasons. No, they have. Mm-hmm. They've had some decent seasons, but they're obviously not North Carolina or Duke or anything like that. So just like anything else, does anybody like you have people that love and hate Duke or North Carolina? Okay. Does anybody care about the Duke and North Carolina college football teams? No.
Well, I mean, North Carolina. Well, North Carolina did start the season ranked in the top 10.
North Carolina is finally being relevant now because they've got Mac Brown. But I'm just saying, like they haven't been relevant for a long time. So it's like that carryover to the hatred of Duke in college basketball. It doesn't carry over to like nobody worries about Duke in the college football. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
For sure. But another team that they didn't clinch a playoff spot, but they did clinch a number 2 seed was the team in the hat that you're wearing right there, Jeremy, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, obviously,
another ugly game, but it worked. So
we've talked a lot about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, mostly about Antonio Brown and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But they do what they need to do. They demolish the Carolina Panthers, who had really nothing to play for. And to secure that number 2 seed, which is going to be home field advantage with the exception of the Green Bay Packers. But I do think that's important. They don't have to go to Washington like they did last year when they had to go on the road against a Washington team to try to win a game, and they damn near got knocked out of the playoffs.
They ran through the gauntlet last year in the playoffs. They really did. I mean, that was an impressive run. This year, I think that it was a good game. They played pretty well, even though on paper they played well. If you watch the game, it really was pretty ugly, especially the first half. It really didn't look like they looked like they had some issues. Obviously, they have some issues, with no Antonio Brown anymore. Godwin is out for the year. Fournette is out. Gronk is he's probably, I guess he's 80-85%. That they've got some issues, a lot of issues right now, but they're going to work through it. Brady's going to, definitely keep them in contention for any game. But I think that they have a good matchup with the Eagles. I think that's a favorable matchup for Tampa Bay. I think they should have no problem there. It's going to be the next step. I mean, who's going to doubt Brady at this point? But it was
everybody apparently continued to doubt him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But there was an interesting story that happened in this game, though.
There was. And one of the things that I think we have to look at when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this playoff push is the Antonio Brown effect and how it might affect things going forward. One of the things that Antonio Brown specifically, I think, is trying to do and was trying to do when he went on that podcast in the aftermath of his meltdown and getting cut, he kind of went after Tom Brady a little bit. But in the process of going after Tom Brady, he said that Tom Brady makes all the decisions. Tom Brady's the GM. Tom Brady's the coach. Nothing happens there without Tom Brady's approval. And I think all of us sitting there watching kind of agree that that's probably the case.
Yes.
But it's not like Bruce Arians doesn't have an ego either. And we had this story that came out yesterday. Tom Brady defies coach's orders to get Rob Gronkowski $1 million. We always see these incentives and things that happen at the end of the season. For Gronkowski, I think he needed like 750 yards and 55 catches. Each of those things were worth $500,000. And when it came down to it in the fourth quarter, Gronkowski needed another catch to be able to get $500,000. And Tom Brady, apparently defying orders of the coaches, went back in the game. And we do have some clips together right here. Tom Brady didn't want to get out of the game until he got Rob Gronkowski one more reception. Let's watch this.
A pass, he's not going to try and hand it off. But when you could do either, the running back's like, okay, you're not taking me out.
He says, you're not taking me out when looking back to the coach. And then does go
Let's
in.
see who has more power, Brady or Arians. Who's in the game?
Whitfield picked it up.
Well, they're trying to get Gronk his $50,000 or what was it?
Try to earn him some money. Well, JB, that's
right there.
Kind of dicey there. And Tom Brady's been pulled from the game.
That's what it was. They wanted to get him.
So he goes back in the game, defies coach's orders, specifically just to get Rob Gronkowski $500,000, which, that's what he's going to do. You see a lot of this stuff. But what do you think that means, Jeremy, in terms of the Buccaneers and how Bruce Arians and Tom Brady may feel about each other?
Yeah, I mean, Bruce Arians, I think that Bruce Arians is in a position to where he knows why he's in the position he's in right now. He's been coaching for a long, long time. He finally ends up with Tom Brady as his quarterback. And coincidentally enough, guess what? He wins a Super Bowl. So this is a situation where Brady's never been in this situation because Belichick has so much control and command, of his locker room. Bruce Arians is he's been kind of described as a player's coach, a loosey-goosey, a little bit laid back, one of the guys. So I do think the timing is very interesting considering the Antonio Brown thing happened. And then Antonio says like, oh, Tom makes the calls. And again, I think we all knew Tom makes the calls. It's almost like LeBron. LeBron makes the calls, on his team. That, you know what I mean? That's just how it is. It's obviously different circumstances here. Timing is very interesting, but at the end of the day, I think both of these men know their role. Brady will know how to publicly put. It's almost like going into a wrestling term. He'll know how to put Arians over publicly. You know what I mean? Yep. He'll know what to do. He'll know what to say. He'll put him over publicly. And at the end of the day, this is all about, forget the reality of what happened on the field. It's about what sound bites they're going to give the media. And Brady's not going to give them a sound bite. That's what it comes down to. Brady's not going to give them a sound bite.
And Bruce Arians already came out today and said something that I think, again, like you said, both of them know the deal and they know that they can't let it appear that way. Bruce Arians came out and said it's essentially insane if Tom Brady doesn't win the MVP this year. I think actually John sent a super chat with the direct quote. We got John Matrix from Matrix and Road Show. Just ordered some wings for the big game tonight. Bruce Arians said it's a travesty. That's what he said. It's a travesty if Tom Brady doesn't win the MVP. And some people are saying maybe they did it as a shot to AB because Antonio Brown was complaining about targets. He wanted those incentives. I personally think it was more about getting Gronkowski $500,000 than really any kind of message to Antonio Brown. But a lot to look forward to when it comes to how this drama may continue to play out, especially if Antonio Brown continues to run his mouth.
Well, the thing about Brady is he's always thrived off of controversy or doubt or whatever. He creates it. He creates fake controversies. This is what Nick Saban does. You know what I mean? This is what Ryan accused me of doing when the 100K stuff, downplaying the 100K, and he was 100% right. I hate when Ryan calls me out on shit, and he's usually right when he does it. But that's what Brady does. So I think Brady's just going to use any of this to his advantage. There's a lot of drama in Tampa Bay. Don't get it twisted. There's a lot of drama. There's no doubt about that. But you have a true leader that knows how to capitalize off of that drama. That's the difference in Brady and pretty much everyone else, is that he knows how to capitalize off the drama. He knows how to funnel that into motivation. And so that's essentially what I think is going to happen. And they need it now more than ever because Tampa Bay is not the best team in football. They're not even the best team in the NFC. And they need and they went into it favored. And it's always tough when you're favored. It's always tough when you're the person or the team that's expected to win, because it creates a lot of things in your mind and you have to figure out how to make yourself overcome those things. Right now, they're not the best team on paper, and they went into it considered to be the best team. But all this drama, I think Brady takes that and spins it into an advantage.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like, injuries have had such a big part to deal with it. They brought everybody back. Which doesn't often happen, but they were able to make it work. But between what's happened to some of those skill position players, between obviously what happened to Antonio Brown, and on that defense, they've had to deal with a lot of injuries this year. So it's something else for Tom Brady to overcome in his career.
Yep.
Sir Ruin of House Ron Head for 5. Sports media would love for Mahomes to get COVID so Ben can go to the Super Bowl. They would slobber all over a Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't know who they would rather have. Would the mainstream media rather have Ben or Patrick Mahomes?
Mahomes.
I think so. I think so too. I think they don't like Big Ben.
I mean, Big Ben would be a good story considering,
yes.
you know, it would be a great story, but the media would still rather have Mahomes. They just would.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of fans would rather see Ben. I don't know what the media would do though. It's a good question, Sir Ruin.
Well, I personally would rather see Brady versus Ben. And I don't even like Ben, but you got to respect what the man's done. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, he's an all-time great quarterback. And if this is his, you know, his final season, seeing him go up against Brady in the Super Bowl, that would be fantastic. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. What do you mean by like all-time great?
I would put Big Ben. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, I'm not going to put
agree.
He's not a top 10 all-time, you know, great. But when I say all-time great, I mean, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know, the longevity in which he's done it. He's dealt with injuries. I remember when he first came into the league, he kind of took the league by storm because he didn't come in like highly recruited or highly touted necessarily. It wasn't like, this is a guy that's going to change the league. And yet he's consistently been a top 5 quarterback in the league over the course of his career, except for the last couple of years. But I'd say,
well, when they started off, like that first, Super Bowl, they were throwing the ball 13 times a game. You know, they were so much Jerome Bettis heavy. And he evolved like the way that Tom Brady also evolved to take more control. But like Tom Brady always had way more impact on that offense than Big Ben did in the beginning. But I definitely think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I just wonder what you meant by all time great. Because Eli Manning, I think Eli will be a first ballot Hall of Famer too.
Yeah, but nobody considers him an all-time great quarterback. Nobody.
I agree, which is why I was asking that.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that Hall of Fame, to me, if there's somebody that, if you're telling people the story of the NFL, if you're writing a book, could you exclude this person from it? If you can't, then they're a Hall of Famer. And Eli is one of those people. You can't write the story of the NFL without Eli Manning and what he
100%.
did to that Patriots team. And I think the same thing can be said of Ben Roethlisberger as well. So.
Agreed.
We got a super chat from Eric. What's up, Eric? Jeremy, someday it will be a big boy beard.
The fact that it's even to this point is shocking to me. I didn't think I could pull this much off. So I don't think I can catch Ryan on the beard. That's for sure. So not
I
trying.
could just shave it. The Matrix in a row says Eli Manning's not a Hall of Famer. He was average. I don't disagree that he's a little bit better than average quarterback for his career. But like I said, I think he's going to be a very, if not first and second ballot Hall of Famer because of his impact and importance to what happened in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, Eli Manning has 2 rings. Usually that's a lock. You know what I mean? But obviously he's not on paper. He has never had the consistency, but the man is the reason that the New England Patriots did not go undefeated in 2007. And then just when you thought, oh boy, Brady has another shot, there's no way the Giants are going to do it. And he did it again. These are historical things that have changed the game, impacted the legacy of who will still be the greatest of all time. But my God, if you give Brady those 2 rings to his resume, you know what I mean? Like, that's incredible. So
and that undefeated team, like, holy fuck.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I like how Ryan said it. If you write the story of the NFL, Eli Manning is going to be part of that.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that there's not Hall of Famers that you could leave out of there just because their numbers are what they did. But I think when it comes to that, like the importance of certain players, you got to put them in. That's just the way it is.
That is not true, Eric. Asante Samuel is the reason. Asante Samuel dropped a wide open interception. Why doesn't this get discussed more? He dropped a wide open interception in that first Super Bowl against the Giants. It's as obvious as an interception it would ever be. Drop that. That's why that happened. Ugh, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, well, and like Eli Manning somehow escapes that sack, throws it up, like the catch on the helmet. So many things went right. And then, of course, in the second one, you have that perfect pass. Was it Mario Manningham? Is that who that was to?
Yep.
That perfect dime pass from Eli. But even then, if Wes Welker doesn't drop, if he doesn't drop a fucking easy catch, New England still probably wins that. So a couple major drops, and that's all it takes sometimes. But Big Ben had a couple major drops, and he was able to overcome and persevere and, finally make the playoffs. But when we do look at this playoff picture, Jeremy, I want to take a look at the overview here for the NFC and the AFC. So obviously we talked about that Steelers versus Chiefs. I think they're going to make it a bigger game than people expect because right now the Chiefs are favored by 14 somehow.
Chiefs are not. They're not the Chiefs of the last few years. They're good. And they can still win. They can still beat anybody on any given Sunday easily. I mean, that kind of goes for every team in the NFL, but I'm saying the Chiefs definitely can show up. And Mahomes is still fantastic. But I think Pittsburgh comes into this with a lot of momentum. I just feel the momentum for Pittsburgh right now because of the Ben Roethlisberger aspect of it and how they got in. You know what I mean? I just feel like, wow, we were given a gift here. Let's not ruin this. Let's not, let's not throw this one away. I feel like the Steelers have a lot of momentum right now.
And with that being said, what Tennessee was able to do was so important yesterday by beating Houston. It got a little dicey. They got up 21-0 like the first quarter or something. Maybe the second quarter. But, Houston fights back, makes it a game, and, Tennessee has to win that. They do. They're the number 1 seed, which is huge for them. Get more rest for that injured team and for Derrick Henry before his potential return.
I'm calling it right now. I'm calling the Steelers to beat the Chiefs. I'm calling it. Steelers are beating the Chiefs. I'm calling it right now. That's my prediction. Lock it in. That's
There
it.
you go.
It's a lock. It's a lock. I'm calling the Steelers to beat the Chiefs.
There you go. All right. And then also we've got the Raiders fresh off that victory against the Cincinnati Bengals. I like the Bengals as kind of a dark horse from the AFC. I think they've been playing really well the last few weeks. I love Joe Burrow. And obviously Jamar Chase is a monster. Joe Mixon is a great weapon for them. So I think they'll take care of the Raiders, but the AFC is just so wide open, I think. And then
the Bills. I got the Bills handling New England.
Yeah, then you have a rematch. This is the third time they faced each other this season, division rivals. You're going to see Patriots and the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Now, we did see the Patriots win against them with that. That was the last time they met. Was it the last time or the last time the Bills beat them? They met on that snow-covered.
I think
that
I feel like the Bills,
with a huge wind, right?
I feel like the Bills beat them the last time they played.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe the first time was that wind game. It was like 50-mile-an-hour winds, and Mac Jones threw 3 passes.
Yeah, but Patriots are backing into the playoffs right now. That they were on that high with that winning streak, and now they're really backing in. I mean, they almost came back versus the Dolphins yesterday. It was pretty crazy to see my boy Mac versus my boy Tua. That was crazy. But they almost came back, but Tua kind of sealed the deal there in the end. But New England is definitely backing into the playoffs right now. I 100% got the Bills in that game.
Yeah, there you go. And then when you look at the NFC, now the Packers had nothing to play for. They locked it up the week before. They ended up losing the Lions. It doesn't fucking matter. But we do have some interesting matchups, more division rivals, the Rams and the Cardinals, both of who lost yesterday. So the Cardinals end up losing and the Rams ended up losing in overtime to the 49ers, who clinched a spot because of that. So first, let's look at the Rams-Cardinals game. I like the Rams. I just think that the Cardinals, they just have lost so much of the momentum they had earlier this season, and they have completely floundered down the stretch.
Yep. No, I definitely like the Rams in this game. Although I know Stafford was a little banged up yesterday. Did we get any news on if that was a serious issue with his he come up limping late in the game?
I think he'll be all right. He did have a thumb injury early this season, which really fucked him up for about a 4-game period. But we'll see. Cooper Kupp continues to be a monster. He led the league.
That guy,
catches, yards, and touchdowns. A massive season. Damn near got to 2,000 yards. Granted, it's in 17 games, not 16, but still, dude is.
He's a beast, dude.
He's a beast. When you look at him, you wouldn't expect it. But
yeah, you've been singing his praises all year long, and I mean, this guy's he is insane. But I think the Rams are definitely the team, the better team out of those two. I would definitely put my money on the Rams.
In Cooper Kupp, I followed him real closely because of fantasy. Obviously this year, but also in previous years. And the connection that Cooper Kupp and Jared Goff had was a good one, even though Jared Goff's not close to the quarterback I think Matthew Stafford is. He was very effective, and the Rams coach heavily utilized Cooper Kupp, and he's on the field 99% of the time. They use those wide receivers to block a lot, so there's a lot of opportunities for them. When it comes to then, when I heard Matthew Stafford and him had a connection in training camp, I was like, this dude's going to go off, and he fucking did. I didn't know it was going to be like this, but I knew it was going to be good. But then you got the 49ers who, I feel like the 49ers have just been met all season long. And now they're sitting here in the playoffs with Jimmy Garoppolo, with Deebo Samuel having an incredible year. I think the only guy maybe in NFL history, or at least in recent years, to lead his team in, yards receiving and yards rushing. He's killing it.
He is a beast. This is a hard game to predict because I don't trust Dallas to be consistent. But damn, if they didn't just have an incredible game, to close the season. And then obviously we saw San Francisco have that crazy game they were in. I don't know, man. I'm torn on this game. I'm torn. I don't like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's overrated as fuck. But you got to respect the fact that they're there. Right now I'm leaning Cowboys.
I am a little bit too, but again, that's what I've been saying about the 49ers literally all season long. So at some point, I mean, I guess I guess at some point I gotta start giving him the benefit of the doubt. And I guess Deebo Samuel did not quite lead them in rushing yards. Elijah Mitchell actually did get it. For a period of time there, he was leading them because they were so banged up when it comes to running backs. But Deebo Samuel became a huge part of that offense. He became the offense for them. So absolutely incredible for him. And then, of course, we have Tampa Bay and Philly. Now, do you think Jalen Hurts gives them any trouble at all, Jeremy?
I mean, I love my boy Jalen Hurts, but I feel very confident in this game with Tampa. Even with all the doubts with Tampa and the problems that they're having, I just feel good about this game. I mean, I know they struggled with them earlier in the year, but I just feel good about this game for Tampa.
Yeah,
I'm not too worried
about
this.
Too. I think that Jalen Hurts could be a tough matchup. You know, you never know when you get these systems that are, you know, heavy running based with a mobile quarterback who can play make. I think that will and always will be a struggle for a defense all the time. Yeah. It doesn't mean that's the key to success. It doesn't mean that that's what you need to in the NFL, but it does. I feel like it gives you a wild card perspective each and every Sunday. And you need to plan going into that. I think that Tom Brady's going to fucking take care of business, but I am a little bit worried about that Jalen Hurts team. We saw them struggle last season against what's the quarterback from Washington's name? I forget. Taylor Heineke against Taylor Heineke coming in.
I forgot he even existed.
I love Taylor Heineke. He went to ODU. I know Taylor Heineke because I was living in Virginia when Taylor Heineke was playing for Old Dominion University, which is right by where I was living. So for him to be as effective as he has been is pretty cool.
Is that true? The first time since 94? Wow. Yeah, I mean, I would guess so.
I mean, the Cowboys have only played in a couple of games.
That's true. God, 94, man. That is that just brings back memories of some of the golden times for freaking NFL, man. God, that was some great stuff back then. 90s, like late 80s, early 90s, you know, into the mid 90s. It's good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, and then one more game that we do have to talk about that happened.
We don't need this necessary nonsense in our chat, Ben. So if you could appreciate the toxicity being eliminated, I
beat the fuck out of you in Mario Kart. I came in, you begged me to play. I fucking come in, I win silver the first round, and then I take a gold, and then me and rip a tie for gold in the second one. Which I don't play Mario Kart. I hate the game. The only time I ever play Mario Kart is when these guys get me on the stream, and I just dominated. It was just one of those nights. Sometimes shit just goes your way like that.
Let me do a quick just so everybody can see. We'll do a little bit of cross promotion real quick and get back to it so that people can see what Ryan did. Just so you can see what happened, even though I'm not happy about it. I guess I'll let all of you see it really quickly. So this is on our Geeks and Gamers Clips channel. So here we go.
Oh, what?
It's that red shell that got me. Get him. Get out of here. That's as close as it gets. Jeremy, like that.
Was that
there you go.
Yeah. So
you're welcome.
Jeremy, I got hit with the red shell after the jump. So I got hit with the red shell. I thought it was done. Then I see that blue shell. I fucking got hit far enough that I didn't fall. I finished, but I was still spinning out, and then I was able to get past it.
Fucking bullshit. But if you want to go subscribe to Geeks and Gamers Clips for all of that, you can. Pisses me off.
There you go. Well, and there should be more of these clips from last night because, again, the reason you were so mad is because I had won the previous series. I had won the previous series. I got the gold trophy. So then that was the first race of the next series where you were out to redeem yourself and you thought you were good. You passed me at the end in a bullshit way. You thought you were good, and then I came back and won it. That's why he was extra salty. But another game we have to talk about that happened yesterday was the Colts-Jags game. All the Colts needed to do was win this game, and they're in the playoffs. That's all they had to do. Now, if they lost it, they were out of the playoffs, which I don't think a whole lot of people even really considered. But that was the case. That's what was on the line. But because they're playing the Jaguars, the worst team in the league, the Jaguars literally did a clown out for the 75 Jacksonville Jaguars fans that exist.
So
they dressed up as clowns, full face paint and everything. Go to Uche's channel if you want to see him. He live streamed the game like that to kind of protest the owner, Shad Khan, and how ineffective that organization has been over really its entire existence. So literally the fans themselves are shitting on this team, and they go and play the Colts and they dominate them. The Colts just didn't look like they wanted to play physically. I don't know if they weren't ready for that. Carson Wentz, who has been good this season, but I also feel has gotten away with a lot. He's made a lot of plays where he's kind of thrown the ball away or thrown the ball up for grabs that ended up not being turnovers that easily could have been. And all that came back to bite him yesterday. He had some bad turnovers. Jonathan Taylor was held in check mainly because the Jacksonville Jaguars got so far up that they couldn't just run the ball. They had to throw. And, I don't know what's going on in the chat.
What is this? What to say Jaguar?
Jaguars. I say Jaguars instead of Jaguars because Jaguars sounds retarded.
I mean, it's usually me getting roasted for how I say words, so to hear Ryan get made fun of is
to say like Jaguars, because that's how you're supposed to say it, Jaguar or something. It sounds gay or it sounds dumb as shit. It just really does. So I never say that. I say Jaguars. It does sound like Jaguars, though.
Oh, sorry, I got distracted. These people in the chat just kept bringing.
I was gonna clip that out too. I was gonna clip it out. We're gonna put it on Sports Wars for good content about the Colts melting down. No longer.
The chat's really, really happy. Just say Jags. Just say Jags, Ryan. Just say Jags.
No.
Yeah.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Back on topic. I actually did not watch this game. I saw a lot of the clips. I saw do we have that picture of Uche?
I can pull it up.
Oh my God, dude. What were they thinking what point were they thinking they were making? You know what I mean?
All right. So Jacksonville is very
know
upset,
the point,
yeah. Again, Jacksonville's very upset with their management right now. And they were basically calling their owner, his last name is Khan, clown, because that's so funny and interesting. Now, it just did not really work out so well, I don't think. I don't think it sent the message they really thought it would. I sent you a picture. I know I did. Here it is.
Got it? Okay.
Yeah, here's this picture of Uche. So you guys can see what we're talking about right here. Uche, former Jacksonville Jaguar. This is how he streamed the game. Full clown. And personally, for the 75 Jaguars fans out there, I don't think this is maybe the best way to get your message across, because I feel like if you're still rooting for the Jags, you kind of are the clown. But with that being said, maybe it inspired the team. Maybe it inspired Jacksonville to win this game. I don't know, man.
Oh man, it's so funny. So the Colts basically, how did they let this happen? Because I didn't watch the game. Did you watch it?
They got down quickly. Again, Carson Wentz made some bad turnovers. The Jags took advantage immediately. I don't think that, Trevor Lawrence looked incredible, but he was effective. Didn't turn the ball over. He was like 20 for 30. You know what I mean? A kind of game like that for probably like 250. But the Colts just the worst possible time for them to lay an egg, and they did. Everything on the line. All you got to do is beat the worst team in the league who has nothing to play for, and in fact only has reason to lose to make sure they get that number one pick. But no, that's an embarrassing way to end it for the Colts.
That is a like it's not on the level. So I don't mean to say it's on the level of something like what happened to the Falcons in the Super Bowl, but that's the type of thing that can stick with, an organization to kind of carry a lot of kind of aura. Like that is a terrible loss. That's one of the worst, most embarrassing losses any team has had in the regular season. You know what I mean? Like that is pathetic. That's next level pathetic. So that could have some lingering effects on this team moving forward. I mean, this is the team that puts banners up that they, won on a, random Sunday against the Patriots, hanging banners and shit, So it's just, I don't know. This to me has long-term effects for that team potentially.
I think more so than the team, it's how the fan base may feel about Carson Wentz as their quarterback moving forward. I think that all the way up to this, they probably felt really very good about Carson Wentz. I think he's had a very good season, this kind of fresh start for him. To put it in perspective, last year, Phillip Rivers couldn't even fucking move. He literally couldn't move back there, and they made the playoffs. So I think you got to be disappointed if you're an Indy fan.
Yeah, I mean, and where are you at? How do you feel about Carson Wentz? I've never liked Carson Wentz. I've always
thought he was really
overrated.
overhyped and overrated those first couple years with the Eagles. But I don't hate him or anything. I think that everyone realizes what Carson Wentz is now. I think he was overhyped and overrated. But he damn near won MVP if he hadn't got hurt and missed those last 3 games that one year where Tom Brady ended up winning it.
Yeah, so did Matt Ryan, though. Matt Ryan won MVP too. So
I mean, Cam Newton won an MVP. People have had great seasons. You know, you can have great seasons. Look at Colin Kaepernick. Yeah. And I will get to the super chats, but real quick before Jeremy goes, it's going to kind of be a shorter stream because again, national championship starts in 7 minutes.
Kickoff's about 20-25 minutes from now, but I need to bounce and start getting food ready. So
exactly.
But go ahead.
Let's set up the game. Alabama, your Alabama against Georgia, the rematch from the SEC championship. Do you think anything's different about this game? Do you think Georgia comes in with a different approach? How do you see it playing out tonight?
I never, ever, ever like these types of games. If you go back to look at when Alabama lost to LSU in the regular season and then they rematched for the national championship, Alabama just beat the shit out of them. I don't like it when you play a good team twice, or just any team for that matter. You go back to the 2007 New England Patriots. They beat the Giants in the regular season for the final game of the year, but it gave the Giants confidence. And then, of course, we saw it happen in the Super Bowl. I never like these games. I don't like playing a top team twice in a season, so I am very nervous about this game. Obviously, Bama has the better team, the better coach, and more experience. Georgia seems to have not even just the Georgia Bulldogs. The state of fucking Georgia seems to have just an aura about them to lose in the biggest moments. So I think that it's going to be a very close game. I think it will be a relatively high scoring game for SEC. So I think Bama wins, but I am nervous as fuck about it. So I'm very nervous.
Yeah. And Grotto Rabbit, I know that looks very close to what Uche usually looks like, but he was indeed an outfit. he actually did dress up for that. It's interesting. We were talking before the stream. I'm just not as dedicated or interested in college football as I am in the NFL. It's very much predicated on the matchups for me. And the Alabama-Georgia matchup does nothing for me after what we saw in the SEC championship, which sucks. But we'll see. I think that obviously it is tough to beat a good team twice. With that being said, I don't think that losing gives Georgia an advantage. They still have to deal with what Alabama did to them that first game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet against Nick Saban.
No, I mean,
I won't bet against Nick Saban.
You can never bet against Saban. And I mean, again, Alabama has the better team. Georgia is good. Georgia's damn good. And they are the second best team in the nation. No doubt about that. Kirby Smart. I love Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart, he was so good at Alabama. So great. And I respect what he's done at Georgia. But Nick Saban's the king. And they've been trying to dethrone the king for a long time now. So yeah, I got Bama winning, but I expect a close game. I expect a very close game, and maybe that's just because I'm my nerves are shot. But that's where I'm at with it. I know you're a weirdo because only normal people love college football. You're a weirdo.
Well, I like college football, but I like the matchups definitely depend on like how interested I am. I'm obviously going to watch it. But like I get excited every year for the Super Bowl, regardless of who's in it. But I've never had that attachment to college football, even though like half of my family's massive Michigan fans. We watch college football every single fucking Saturday, all the time. I watched every Purdue game, every Michigan game growing up. At a time where those teams were actually relevant in the national championship picture. Not that Michigan wasn't this year, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, it's super important. But if teams that I'm not necessarily interested in are involved, I don't necessarily get excited for it.
I get it.
I lived in South Carolina for 2 years, and yeah,
they don't have college
football.
They don't have college football in South Carolina.
I believe they do, according to reports. According to driving past Clemson and seeing these people there, and of course the Gamecocks. But yeah, so I'm glad people are excited. I just don't care about the rematch.
I hear you.
I think Alabama will handily take care of it. But I hope Georgia wins. It's better videos for us.
Yeah,
but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and by the way, we had another great crowd today. We had a great crowd on our Sunday stream, and we had a great crowd tonight. Guys, thank you so much for supporting us here on Sports Wars. It means a lot to us because we love this channel. Ryan's done a fantastic job on it. We're going to keep grinding away, so thank you guys. It's so awesome. So I'm going to bounce, roll motherfucking Tide. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
See you, Jeremy. All right, there you go. And I'll finish up these super chats, guys, and then we'll let everybody go to watch the game. Pee Wee Pierre for $5. Tom Brady and Gronk is like Tim Pool and Jack Murphy, a cute lesbian couple. Here's why. Brady has deflected balls, and the other three have none. Yeah, you mean deflated balls? Is that what you mean? Deflated balls? Thank you, Pee Wee Pierre. The Greg for $5. Bills equals... Boy, I love losing Super Bowls. Let's go, Pats. Make the Pats great again. Fire Chip Kelly. Hell yeah, the Greg. That's funny. I think Mr. Bubba Matt has something to say about that. He's got a big game coming up tonight. I think he super chatted, go Dogs, Mr. Bubba Matt down there. He's also a big Bills fan. So thank you, both of you guys, for the super chats. The artist formerly known as Woke Hogan for $5 says, I don't know who's worse, the Dolphins for firing Brian Flores or the Giants for keeping Joe Judge. By the way, we guys do a live stream for the draft. We did a draft live stream one year. Just kind of depends. What I envision, here's what I'll tell you guys. What I envision is actually what Black and White Sports started doing, within the past 2 weeks here. Daily live stream for Sports Wars. I want to have a daily live stream, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it may be for Sports Wars. One, we can clip a lot of content from there, but I think that's really important. I want to grow that going forward. When we get this studio going, so when me and Jim are actually in the same place for 12 hours a day, we're totally 100% going to do that. So that will be coming. I can promise you that. And then the artist formerly known as Woke Hogan for $5. We get to watch a lot of bad quarterbacks this weekend between Wash Big Ben, Check Down Mac, 15 fantasy points or less Derek Carr, and porn star Jimmy Garoppolo. Derek Carr's hit or miss. If you remember the first couple weeks of the season when John Gruden was still there, Derek Carr was putting up like fucking insane numbers. He had like 900 yards passing through the first 2 games or something. So he was balling out. But then John Gruden left. Things changed a little bit. You know, when one of your big deep threats, Henry Ruggs Jr., kills someone, gets arrested, that can affect your downfield game a little bit. Tom Brown, channel member for 9 months. I like the Bengals winning a close one of my Raiders. I think so too. I just feel good about them. I feel good about the Bengals. I like them. Moist Breadcrumb becomes a channel member. Thank you, Moist Breadcrumb. And speaking of channel members, Grotto Rabbit over on the Streamlabs side for $5 says, become a member, you broke motherfuckers. That's only $2. Thank you, Grotto member, for the bump over there. Blue-Eyed Scorpio for $5. If Saban is down at halftime, will he quit like he did with the Dolphins midseason? That was intentionally meant to trigger Jeremy. I'm sorry. I didn't read it before now. But thank you, Blue-Eyed Scorpio. Ramwell's Sam Page for $10. Work is pushing the jab and weekly testing. I'm going in tomorrow and telling them to SMD, suck my dick. I work construction in hospitals this whole time and got COVID. Now I'm not good enough. To hell with them. That sucks, man. And it's so bullshit too. The fact that they are, when you look at what they've done with frontline workers, with like nurses or whatever, they were celebrating and praising them for risking their lives. Now they're firing them if they don't get the jab. And they're so short-staffed, apparently, that they're actually making people who are actively sick with COVID come in and work rather than hire an unvaccinated person to work. How fucking stupid is that? Nuts. It's nuts. All right, guys, with that being said, a little bit of a shorter one, an hour. I'd love to keep these streams to an hour. We just usually get going so much that we can't. But big game tonight. Make sure you guys tune in. We'll see. It's a rematch, but you never know what can happen. Alabama versus Georgia. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'll see you next time. And actually, I don't know, we're obviously going to continue to do these throughout the playoffs. After the playoffs, I'm not sure what we're going to do. I don't know. I can't tell you. We may be doing some live stream watch parties during the playoffs. If you guys want that, that might be cool. Guess we'll see. But thank you guys. Have a good one. We will talk to you later. Peace.